What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? My name is Debrunski, and today I finally bring you my MF-based Wind Druid character build. There's two things that I want to point out before I jump into this build. One, that it's an entirely self-found single-player character, so there's definitely room for improvement. I don't have crazy plus 40 life elemental skillers or 12 fast trade recovery skillers, so there's definitely room to grow for the gear that I'm using, but it's a pretty good character build right now. And two, this build is entirely focused around magic finding, primarily the pits on player 7 difficulty. It's not 163 FCR breakpoint druid, and it's not a 99/99 max block druid. It's literally entirely focused around magic finding the pits. So with that kept in mind, let's jump into this character build. So as far as the attribute points go with this character, it's relatively straightforward. I decided to go with the max fighter druid, so I have 156 points invested into strength. That's the bare minimum requirement that you have to have in order to use a spirit, rune word, and a monarch shield. Pretty standard stuff for any caster in Diablo 2, really. 0 hard points invested into dexterity, and again 0 hard points invested in energy. And then I have 534 attribute points invested into vitality. Now this really amplifies the character's health when I cast my battle orders and my oak sage, but we'll get into that later with the gameplay. But essentially, you have 156 points into strength so that you can use spirit in a monarch shield, and then the rest of your points you just dump them into vitality. Skill point investment is honestly pretty straightforward with the Wind Druid, guys. There's really not too much room for variation. So we start off here, you can see the shapeshifting skill tree. You don't invest a single point into the shapeshifting tree. It's entirely a waste for an elemental Wind Druid. So it's probably pretty obvious, but with an elemental druid, the bulk of your skill points is going to be invested in the elemental skill tree. So we'll go through them one by one here. I invested 1 hard point in Arctic Blast, and that's purely just to open up the skills below it. You max out Cyclone Armor, you max out Twister, you max out Tornado, and then you max out Hurricane. Now, these 4 skills, they all synergize with each other, and you're constantly going to be recasting your Hurricane skill, and while you have your Hurricane on and you're teleporting around, you're casting your Tornadoes. Now, this might be old news for you veteran Diablo 2 players, but if you're newer to Diablo 2, I just wanted to kind of go over that. Tornado is your physical damage, and that's what you're casting all the time. And Hurricane, it's really just kind of like a passive skill to do a little bit of damage and for cold to slow down enemy monsters. So after you've maxed out all of your skill points for the elemental skill tree, I put the remaining skill points into the summoning skill tree. So guys, I have 1 hard point into Raven, 1 hard point into Summon Spirit Wolf, 1 hard point into Summon Direwolf, and then 1 hard point into Summon Grizzly. Now Grizzly is awesome. For just 1 hard point, I have 3,900 health, and that's before I give him battle orders and before I cast my Oak Sage. So Summon Grizzly is an amazing meat shield. I have kind of experimented around a little bit with summoning Direwolves, but from what I've read, that's more of a PvP thing. But that's kind of your personal choice, whatever you guys want to use. But I would recommend using the Summon Grizzly. And then the remaining skill points I keep investing into Oak Sage, and eventually I believe that Oak Sage will be maxed out when I reach level 96. Could be level 95 or level 96, I don't quite remember. But Oak Sage is just amazing. It boosts your health on your Druid, it boosts the health on your summons, and it boosts the health on your mercenaries. So you continue to keep investing points in Oak Sage until you've maxed it out. Now I have seen some character builds where they invest some points, like 1 into Poison Creeper, 1 into Carrion Vine, and then just to get 1 into Solar Creeper, that they kind of cast a Solar Creeper to replenish their mana. I'll get into that later with my gear. That's kind of leave that up to you for personal choice. I wouldn't recommend it. But there is some Wind Druid builds on D2JSP where they talk about using the summon vines, I guess, from the summoning tree. Okay guys, so now that I've covered the attribute points and the skill points for this character, it's time to jump into the gear now. Now if you look above me, that's all the important information, like how much MF I have, the FCR breakpoint that I'm going for, faster hit recovery, damage, that kind of thing. I don't want to spend 20 minutes going over every piece of gear and why I used it, so that's all the important breakpoints that you guys need to know. And then keep in mind that this character is centered around magic finding. So with that being said, let's go over the gear. So for my gloves, I'm using 40 MF chance guards. For the Druid's weapon, Hoto, plus 3 dull skills, 38 reds, 40 FCRs, just the ultimate caster weapon for a Druid. For my rings, I have 2 Stones of Jordan, plus 1 dull skills, and increase my maximum mana. You could, if you wanted to, run Nagel rings to pop your MF up a little bit, but then you're going to lose a little bit of damage. So that's kind of a personal choice for you. If you wanted to boost yourself over 300 MF, you could just switch out these rings. For the belt, using Arax plus 1 dull skills, 20 FCR, increases my maximum mana 5%, so that's a really important belt for reaching that 99 FCR breakpoint. Druid's boots, they're just 42 MF war travs. Using the standard spirit, that's pretty common for any caster. It's just a 33 FCR spirit, it's not a perfect 35, but it doesn't matter because I don't need the perfect 35 to hit the 99 FCR breakpoint. And then as far as my amulet goes, guys, I have a pretty dope amulet. I think it's a 2 to Druid skills, 20 to strength, and 71 to mana caster amulet. The 8 FCR, it could be a little bit higher, but that 8 FCR helps me reach the 99 FCR breakpoint without having to worry about using something like Trang's gloves. And then for the helmet, this is probably one of the coolest items on this character. It's a perfect 141 defense Shaco. And the reason why it says 2 to strength, 2 to dex, 2 to vitality, and 11 energy, that's because I socketed it with a 15 all res, 9 energy jewel. The reason I have a 15 all res jewel in it is because I want to try and aim for 50 all resistances with this character. Cyclone armor is really powerful, but I still like to have about 50 res with my character, and since I primarily farm in the pits, I don't take a lot of elemental damage anyways, so that's why I'm just hovering around 50 all res. Now the biggest part about this character build is using the Runeward Enigma. So I have one here in a Dust Shroud. Super hard Runeward to legitimately make. You gotta really grind for it, but to be honest, you pretty much have to have Enigma to have like an effective Wind Druid. It's just not the same effect if you can't teleport around and then teleport right on an enemy before you drop tornadoes on them. So it's, in my opinion, it's pretty much mandatory, but that's why I'm using the Runeward Enigma. And then on Switch, I have a 463 CTA, and then just a junk 25 FCR Spirit. The faster cast rate doesn't matter. It's pretty much the standard CTA Spirit combo on Switch that every character uses outside of a Barb. And as far as the inventory goes, I have a 1813 Druid Torch and a 1529 Annie Charm. I have a bunch of skillers. They're all crap skillers. They're plain or they have useless secondary mods, so I could improve my character quite a bit if I had like plus to life elemental skillers or plus faster hit recovery elemental skillers. But unfortunately, I don't have those. I wish I did. And then I have 140 MF Geed's Grand Charm because it's again a magic finding based character. And then a couple more skillers and again useless secondary mods. And I always carry around a package of keys with me because that sparkly chest in the pits, it's sometimes locked, so it's nice to have keys with you. And then as far as the small charms go, I have 2 of these. One 5% fast hit recovery, 14 to mana. And then another one is 5 fast hit recovery, 17 to mana. Now these 2 small charms are important because that gives me 10 faster hit recovery, and then you combine that with the 55 faster hit recovery on Spirit. That's what helps me reach the 63 faster hit recovery breakpoint. And then as far as my rest of my small charms, I have a 20 to life, 11 fire res, a plain 11 fire res, and then a 19 to life fire res. Now I have these 3 fire res charms to bump my fire res up to about 50. Because like I mentioned before, Cyclone Armor is awesome if you remember to cast it all the time. Sometimes you can forget to recast it, so I like to have my fire res and the rest of my res sitting at about 50. So that's why I have these 3 fire res charms. And then these other 2 small charms are just plain 7 MF, small charms. Okay guys, so I have a little bit of a gear variation here. If you guys think it's a total sin to not have the 99 FHR breakpoint, I do have an alternative gear setup for that, and it's pretty simple. I just swap out I run another 5% fast hit recovery, mana, small charm. So I get an extra 5 fast hit recovery there. And then I just run Blood Fist gloves. So it's a pretty simple way to hit 99 faster hit recovery. And even the 40 life on Blood Fist, it's boostable by battle orders. So it does add an even bigger chunk to a bigger chunk of health to my Wind Druid, sorry. But the only downside to this setup is I do lose 47 MF. So, I mean, I've thought about other ways about reaching the 99 fast hit recovery breakpoint. Like, I thought about using like a double isted Crown of Ages, but I don't even have a single Crown of Ages, let alone like a double 2 open socket double isted COA. So this is kind of like an alternative gear variation if you want to hit the 99 faster hit recovery breakpoint. Okay guys, so my Merc setup is pretty budget for this character. A lot of my better rune words are on my Sorceress, but it's pretty standard. For the Merc's helmet, I'm just using a ethereal Crown of Thieves. It's a pretty cool helmet. It's not the best helmet, but it does give him some fire res, 11% life stolen per hit, and then it does give him 50 to life, and that 50 to life is boostable by battle orders, so it does help kind of raise his max life, and you'll see when he's all buffed up how much maximum life he actually has. It's pretty crazy. For his armor, just an e-bugged Treachery. Treachery is awesome. The 45 increase attack speed helps with the breakpoint. 20 FHR, a little bit of cold res. His res is cap out when the fade procs, so it's just a wicked budget armor for him. And like this is basically a budget merc, because my good rune words like my Fortitude are on my Sorceress. And then here's where things kind of get a little bit iffy in terms of like an ideal merc weapon choice for a Wind Druid. So I'm currently using a trash insight in an F Thresher. It's not the best roll. The reason why I like to use insight is just for the meditation aura. It's really nice when I'm farming the pits because I don't run into physical immunes too often. And with the 6k natal damage, I can clear player 7 on the pits no problem. So it's just nice having that mana recovery, because if I teleport on top of a mob and then I get hit with mana burn, I don't need to mess around with potting. But with that being said, there is an alternative Merc setup that I want to show you guys. So the alternative Merc weapon that I would recommend using if you don't want to use Insight is the Reaper's Toll. Unfortunately, I don't have an ethereal Reaper's Toll. That's a pretty rare find. I really wish I did have one. So this is just a plain Reaper's Toll, non-eth, and it's not even socketed. But the main reason why you'd want to use a weapon like this for your Wind Druid is the 33% chance to cast level 1 Decrepify and Striking. So that's significantly going to boost your physical damage from your tornado, and it's also going to help remove some physical immunities if you run into them. So I'm going to show you on the pit run. I'm going to do half of it with the Reaper's Toll and half of it with the Insight, but you really don't run into too many physical immunes in the pits, so that's why I generally prefer to use the Insight, because I don't need to mess around with potting. But I wanted to show you guys both options for this character build video. Okay guys, so that's enough rambling by me, so let's show you a player 7 pit run on this character, and you can finally get to see it in action. Okay guys, maybe I lied a little bit. There's one other thing I'm going to cover, and that's just the quote-unquote ideal way to buff up with your minions. Now it's kind of a little bit tedious, and I don't personally do that, but I just wanted to show you guys in case I get a comment like, oh my god, you didn't properly buff up your character, you dummy. Anyway, so the quote-unquote ideal way is to first go to your CTA and you're going to cast your battle command. So that's going to boost your skill levels. Then you're going to go back to your regular swap setup and you're going to cast your Oak Sage and your Bear. And then you're going to switch back again to your CTA, and then you're going to cast battle command on them to raise their level again. And then you're finally going to cast your battle orders. Okay, so it's first battle command, then switch back to your regular setup, cast your minions, then switch back to your CTA setup, cast battle command again to get an extra skill level, and then you finally want to cast your battle orders. So with this setup, I'm currently using the Blood Fist again, like I mentioned, so I actually have 5.1k health. My Merc has 7,900 health, and then my bear, I don't know what my bear would have. My bear must have somewhere around, I would think over 10,000 health at least. But anyways, that's enough talking. So this is the 99.99 breakpoint using the Reaper's Tool. I'll do half a pit run with this setup. So it is kind of a pain in the butt aiming the tornadoes, but pretty simple gameplay. You just basically teleport onto the enemy, get your mercenary to cast Decrepify, and it does significantly boost your damage. So it is kind of a pain in the butt constantly keeping up on casting your Cyclone, but you get used to it the more you play the Wind Druid. And I actually haven't run into a mana burn monster yet, so hasn't been too much of an issue not running, or not having insight, sorry. Oh, a rare unearth, or sorry, a magic unearthed wand. Wouldn't that be dope, finding a unique, finding D-Web? Be pretty crazy. So the Decrepify procs all the time with the Merc, and that does significantly boost my damage. Cyclone again. I'm really hoping to run into a mana burn monster to actually show you what it's like. It is kind of annoying when you have to pot up all the time. That guy did have mana burn, but I didn't get hit by it. Check the small charm out. Junk. Alright, so I haven't hit a mana burn monster yet. It's kind of a bummer. Just wanted to show that. It gets really annoying when your mana drops down to nothing, and that's why I use Insight a lot, but you can kind of see that the clear speed's pretty good. I mean, I'm clearing players 7, right? It's definitely not as fast as a Hammered In, but it's really fun for character variety, for sure. Like, I really do love this character. I mean, I have over 5,000 health. Merc has almost 8,000 health. The bear is a Wicked Meat Shield. I guess I'll switch out. Not that you really get to see a difference, but I'll switch out for Insight now, so I'll lose a little bit of damage. And you could imagine my other setup, I'm just using my 40 MF chance cards, so I just would be gaining a little bit of MF, but so my mana globe doesn't even drop with, doesn't even drop when I'm using Insight. And the Merc leveled up. Shadow Plate. Not Eth, bummer. Locked chest, that's why I carry that key with me. Alright. Well guys, there you have it. That's my magic finding Wind Druid. Again, it's not the most efficient character for farming. I mean, it's not an H-Den or a decked out Blizzsork for the Ancient Tunnels, but the character is a blast to play. Just a quick little note on a mistake that I made. I kept calling Hurricane Cyclone during that run, so that was a mistake, and I also kind of got a little distracted trying to talk at the same time as playing, so I should have had Hurricane casted right at the start of the run, but I did kind of go into recasting again. But anyways, I just wanted to say that, And thanks again for watching, guys. I do really appreciate the support. If you give this video a like, I'd really appreciate that. And maybe consider subscribing if you want to keep up with the Diablo 2 videos that I put out every week and my YouTube streams. One other question that I'm going to answer that I get asked all the time still is that my streaming schedule is on my Discord, guys. I post it there every month, so if you want to catch my streams live, make sure you join my Discord. I've left the link in the description below. But other than that, guys, I just thank you so much for the support. It really does mean a lot. I really do love all of you guys, and I'll see you guys on my next YouTube video or my next Diablo 2 stream.